When you are first learning to heal in Arena, there are so many different things going on that it's very easy to get lost and lose sight of what you were supposed to be doing. An easy way to start getting the basics down is by choosing one cooldown from a class that you are currently fighting to be hyper aware of. For example, let's say you are fighting a team with a Disc Priest. Every 27 seconds, they are going to have Psychic Scream up and will be looking to use it. This is an essential ability for them, so focusing on it and ranging them when they are trying to land a fear will put you substantially ahead since you are denying their biggest crowd control. Another essential thing to track is kicks like Counterspell or Shield Bash. Every class in the game has some sort of kick except for Hunters and Paladins. However, they do have cooldowns to stop your cast like Hammer of Justice and Scattershot. I covered my entire Omnibar setup in a previous video going over all the kicks, which will be in the description. If you're unsure of which cooldowns you should be tracking, I will give you an example from each class of an important cooldown. For Warriors, Bladestorm lands them a lot of their kills, so make sure you are aware of this. For Affliction Warlocks, Howl of Terror is a very large portion of their setups to land a kill, so be aware that they are going to be pushing you as soon as this is up. Destruction Warlocks have Shadow Fury on a very short cooldown and will usually be using it off cooldown, so be aware for that AoE stun. For any spec of Shaman, landing Hex is essential to them winning, so always be tracking Hex. Elemental Shamans also have Thunderstorm, which is a very important cooldown to be aware of. For a Subtlety Rogue, their most important cooldown to be aware of is called Shadow Dance. This ability is essential to track because they are always looking to finish a game with this. Shadow Priests have a defensive called Dispersion, which is essential to track if you are trying to kill them. You should also be aware of their silence, since that is how they get a lot of their kills. Disc Priests have Pain Suppression, which will usually prevent them or their teammate from dying, so it's very important to be aware if they have this up or not before trying to land a kill. Paladins have a ton of cooldowns to track, of course. However, when first starting, I would try to focus on Bubble, Divine Sacrifice, and Hand of Sacrifice. For the Mage, their number one priority is to land a polymorph on you while they are trying to kill your teammates. Try to watch the Mage's positioning, because if they are pushing on you, then you know they are trying to get a polymorph. Be aware that in order to secure the polymorph, most mages will use Deep Freeze or Blanket Silence you and then Nova you at the same time to prevent you from getting away and guaranteeing that they land the polymorph. So tracking Deep Freeze isn't a bad idea either. Very frequently, Hunters will be trying to Scattershot you into a trap, so always be tracking Scattershot. A side note for this ability is that it is very short ranged, so the Hunter will usually have to run at you to do it. Every time a Hunter is running at you with Scattershot up, know that in most scenarios they are trying to trap you. Boomkin's number one ability that needs to be tracked at all times is Starfall. This is how they land kills in 95% of scenarios, so always be aware of it. Feral's big cooldown is called Berserk, which allows them to do a ton of damage in a very short time frame. For Death Knights, their number one kill condition on a healer revolves around their cooldown Strangulate. Always know if a Death Knight has Strangulate up or not, because this is the difference between you living and dying in a ton of scenarios. In order to actually track these, I would highly recommend the add-on Omnibar. It is much better to track a few cooldowns that you are actually going to pay attention to, rather than tracking a ton of them and paying attention to none. If you are wondering how to set up your user interface as well as get your add-ons, I have covered that in a previous video, which will be at the end of this one as well as in the description. This is my second episode of the Healing from Greens to Glad series, where I will be covering everything you need to know in order to go from 1000 rated to Gladiator as a healer. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.